Well, good morning. Thank you for being here, and find your seats as quickly as you possibly can. I think we have a wonderful convocation designed, and I think you're going to enjoy it. We have some remarkable citizens that many people in the St. Louis area know. You'll have a chance to hear them briefly today. We're welcoming the Historical Society of St. Louis County. We do it once a year. It fits our mission completely to be community-based, interested in what's going on, and celebrate the lives of important people that have made a really significant difference in not only the metropolitan area, but in some cases really across the nation. This marks the 16th year that the Society has been part of our fall chapel services. We've hosted this for 16 years, and that's been our pleasure. And it's the 31st year that the Society has been presenting awards to scholars, governmental officials, and civic leaders. Now, some of you won't recognize these names, and most of you haven't been around more than 4, 5, 6, 7. I hope nobody's had to be here longer than that trying to get the undergraduate. But here's some of the recipients that we have honored. Included Senator James Talent, the late U.S. Congressman Thomas Curtis and Robert Young, St. Louis County Executive James H.J. McNary, Lawrence K. Roos, George Buzz Westfall, and the retired federal judge Stephen Lambaugh, Sr. Yeah, he's related. Pulitzer Prize winner Mark Neely and world-renowned botanist Dr. Peter Raven. Besides conducting awards, presentations, and tours of historical neighborhoods, the Society has presented panel discussions on prominent St. Louisans and major events in the St. Louis area. I will ask you to stand at this time, and we will enjoy the presentation of our national anthem, which will be not Pat Lacey, but it will be Leah Stockton. She is a junior majoring in musical theater, so she may have a dance routine to go along. I don't really know. So she's up to it. So please give careful and appropriate attention as we do the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Very good. Thank you. Very good. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker this morning, Charlene Bree. Charlene will be receiving the book award a little bit later, but I want to talk briefly about her background, and then I think she will have a very interesting presentation. We're not far from Ladue, but I think we're going to learn a lot of things about Ladue today. Ms. Bree began her career as a reporter and columnist for the St. Louis Globe-Democrat. She founded the Ladue News, a major St. Louis publication, which is currently owned by Lee Publications. Her articles have been published in People Magazine, American, Airlines Magazine, and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. A former model and fashion writer, she has started her own company to create fashionable attire for women. She travels from New York to Paris and Rome to keep up with current trends. She was a main speaker for Fashion Group International. Ms. Bree has released her first book, History of Ladue, which she will discuss today. She will recount the development of this suburban city and its connection to Lewis and Clark. Ms. Bree's awards include Media Person of the Year, Woman of Achievement Award, and Entrepreneur of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please join me in welcoming Charlene Bree, and she will be our award winner. Thank you. Charlene?
Well, first, thank you for that very, very nice introduction. As you can tell, I've changed personas over the year from fashion to writing to reporting, but that's what makes life exciting, I think. And I am so happy to be here today for the Historical Society of St. Louis County and to receiving this incredible award. With all the past recipients, I feel so humbled in receiving it. So I've been asked over the years, and you students may know, why would I sit for 5 years and write a history of Ladue? Well, I think it's about writing any kind of history because history evaporates. People forget their stories. And if you don't get in there and start asking people, especially in the older generation, of what happens, the next thing you know, it's gone. And I have a professor here, my professor Henry Berger, who helped me in the beginning. And it was just the barest part of a book. And he started asking me questions like probably you students have been asked, like, you know, what happened then? Why not only write about it, but say how it came about? And that's what I tried to do in my book. So Ladue is over 200 years old, and yet nobody until I started delving into the history had even tried to write the minimum part of the story. And so now I've done the first century of Ladue. And Ladue is one of is the 20th wealthiest city in the nation. And it is amazing to me that nobody really even knew about it until this book. And I started delving into maybe this seamier side of Ladue, because it's a very swanky city, and found out that there was a racetrack there, which nobody could believe, and people were betting in the early days in the 1800s. And there were some bizarre murder cases that nobody knew about. And at that time, you had to really watch your saddles if you were riding a horse because everybody kept on stealing them. So it was a very different kind of world then. The other thing that people don't know is that the founder of Ladue supposedly was Peter Ladue. But the more I wrote about Peter Ladue, the more I began to wonder if he was really the founder, and he wasn't. He really didn't have anything to do with Ladue, and he was more of an entrepreneur and apparently wanted just to make money from the area and started buying land there. And there were gypsies in Ladue, but the biggest secret of all is there was a madam in Ladue. And her house of ill repute, everybody knew about it. But I'm going to tell you more about that later, so you can wait on that. And I wanted to show you this because I think, yeah, the Ladue Found the cover is on there now. And covers are really interesting. Here's how it looks actually on the book. Because it's a story of history itself, and that's why I'm telling you about it. This photo I saw early on when I was choosing photos for the book, and my publisher decided it should be on the front cover. So I didn't know who these girls were. And I saw, like, on the back, it had been given to Ladue 30 years before, and on the back was a little tiny piece of paper with a scribbled little phone number on it. But it had been sitting there with that phone number for 30 years. And I thought, well, of course people wouldn't be living in the same house, and whoever this picture was would have to be about 90 years old. But I don't know, I just called the number anyway. and a woman answers the phone. I still get the chills when I tell her, and I say, listen, I have this photograph here that I want to use for a book on Ladue. I said, do you know anything about it? And she started crying. She said, I gave that photo a long time ago to the city. I never thought anyone still had it. And I said, yes. And she said, well, I am the person. And it shows you that even though you don't think anything will happen if you make that extra call, it can do that. And maybe only in the city of Ladue would somebody be living in the same house for the past 30 years with the same phone number. But it can happen. And I urge you always to look for the last straw when you're uncovering history. It's very rewarding. I think that David McCulloch, and the reason why I wrote the book, probably summed up best about history. And he said, citizens must know the history of their community in order to know themselves. And I think that's why some of you are sitting out here, because you're so curious about history, and I think that that is like the most important thing, because if we let it go by, nothing will ever happen, and you won't ever find out about anything more. Now, I didn't know if you want to know a little, if you were ready for a little gossip about Ladue. And this is a picture of some VIPs in Ladue. And the first one is Stan Musial, as you must know. And then this is William DeWitt and James McDonald, who is a former owner of McDonnell Douglas. And I want to show you what a typical house looks like in Ladue. And here it is. This is a posh mansion on Litzinger Road. But then I want to take you back, what Ladue was really like, which the officials of Ladue aren't very happy, you know, when you go back and you say, this is really what Ladue looked like. This is an actual picture of people that lived in Ladue 150 years ago. So these little shacks were really Ladue. And in those days, the price of an acre was 2 cents. Just think of all the money we could make. Today, it's worth $500,000 an acre. Wouldn't we like to be back then? And in those days, it was a farm town, and people talked about tomatoes, not parties like they do today. And this is a house. I want to show you. This is a house of one of the founders of Ladue. And this is the family. And this was a Denny family. And this was the first log cabin home. And it was built by Samuel Denny on Conway Road. It was known as Denny, Missouri then, not Ladue. And Denny was given more than 100 acres of land from President James Monroe, because he served in the War of 1812. And in those days, if you served in a war, you weren't compensated in money, but in land, because there was so much free land around, it was easier to do that. This is a picture that nobody has ever had. It's Peter Albert Ladue. And for years, until a friend of mine, Nancy Carver, decided, and it was after the book had come out, decided to do some more research, she actually found the picture of Peter Albert Ladue. I was so happy to find him. When you've been studying somebody for so long and writing the history, it's amazing when you actually can see the face. And he was quite an interesting man. As I told you, he was really a kind of a real estate magnate. But eventually, and he was also a lawyer, eventually he decided to go into a different business venture, and he lost every single penny he had. And he kind of dashed out of town. And because he left so quickly, there wasn't even a picture of him in St. Louis. So I'm so excited to have him back again. The interesting thing about Ladue is that later on, he did write, and there are letters of his correspondence with President Lincoln, and he kind of gave his idea of how the war should be won, and it's a good thing no one listened to him. We might not be where we are today. Anyway, Ladue died in Michigan in 1889, and at the age of 68. He had 3 children. I mean, he was married, but he had no children. He was married 3 times, but had no children. And this is just a Bible that survives that he gave to one of his nephews. And I thought I'd show that to you. Now, a lot of you may have traveled on McKnight Road, and you probably never thought about, like, why is this named McKnight? But it's named for a man, an adventurer, really, by the name of John McKnight. And he was an orphan as a young boy, and he came to St. Louis from Virginia. And he trained as a lawyer, and actually he was quite a good lawyer, but he thought he hated the profession. I hate to say anyone that's a lawyer, but he really disliked it. And so he thought he could do better by venturing out in the world. And he went to Mexico, of all places, because in those days, people just didn't travel to Mexico and went by horseback. So you can imagine what kind of person he was just to persevere in that way. And he made millions there, and he came back to St. Louis with all of his money and decided that it was time for him to get married. And he built the first brick house in Ladue, and it still stands today. Unfortunately, it does have a slave quarters there, but each of the brick was built in a kiln by slaves, and there were thousands of them, and then they eventually built the house. And it's on Muldogan Drive right now, right at Clayton and McKnight Road, and I think it's still so interesting to see. Now, here's who I think was the real founder of Ladue. T.T. Dwyer was an amazing man. He was a politician. You know, he wasn't really schooled, although he actually helped the school board later in life. He believed so much in education, but he probably didn't have more than a 4th grade education. Yet even so, in the mid-1800s, he decided to come to what was then country and build a mercantile business, which you see right here. And everybody from the area had to come because he had the only grocery store. He had the tavern, which was called the Red Onion Tavern, and people went in there and talk about their horses and how to shoe a horse or how to kill a rattlesnake without getting bit, you know, those kind of things in those days. And the interesting thing is that on the upper floor, if you can look at it, and I don't have a pointer with me, but on one of the upper floors was a very, very famous room. This is where the discussion of the separation of the city and the county called the 1876 divorce took place. And the area and Dwyer was so important that that was called Dwyer, Missouri. So you can see that if you were an important person, the whole area would be named after you. Now this is Madam Trainer. And Madam Trainer owned a brothel at 6 Town and Country Lane, which is in now Ladue, right off of McKnight Road. In the early 1900s, she was infamous. If a husband was late for dinner, relatives didn't think he died or anything like that. They just automatically went to May Trainer's house to find him. And May was very smart. She never gave out her clients list. And Judge Litz told me today there was even another May Trainer establishment downtown, which this is what's great about history. You can expand every moment. So in fact, I guess she had an industry, which I didn't know until this moment. And the interesting thing is I decided, okay, well, she had this house of ill repute. I was going to go to the brothel and see what it used to look like. And what it is now, she had 3 rooms and on the side of her house. and she would knock on the door when anyone was finished and their time was up and wanted them to move on. Well, now that's a 3-car garage, which is amazing to me that you can still see that, and that's part of history that I like too. And later, maid trainer was booted out of Ladue because there was an ordinance when Ladue became a city in 1936. They had something called Ordinance 6, which prohibited any prostitution, so that ended her reign in Ladue. And this picture, it may look familiar to you. This is a picture of Bush's Grove. And it was then, of course, called Woodlawn Grove and also called Robbins. It had many names until Mr. Bush decided that he was going to put an eatery there. And that's what it was called then. So he understood that this was a very famous building. He didn't want to change any of the building because it had been a stagecoach stop. And in the old days, early 1800s, it was the only building in town. And people would come to the country and stop there for food, and then on the way back to the city, stop there again. So you see that it had a tremendous history. And this is a picture of a typical person that might come to Bush's Grove. And in those days, when the wagon drivers had too much to drink, Mr. Bush would take them into an upstairs bedroom, which was filled with straw, and keep them there for the whole night. And the next morning, when they sobered up, he would take them off and put them back into their cart and be off again. And later, this is a picture of Bush's, probably in the 1970s or so. It was still called the men's bar. And of course, women in those days were not allowed to go there. But these two bartenders were pretty famous, and this is what it looked like before. Now, of course, you know that Bush's is no longer. And this I thought you would like to see. It kind of gives me pause because Henry Berger, again, my professor at Washington University, where I was going to school, asked me, "Do you think there were slaves in Ladue?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I've never heard of any. I've never heard. I don't think it's possible." But he kept on persisting. So I went to the St. Louis County Library and said, let's really look at this. And I happened to pick up a book on a stand, and it was about a Pledum free, about a slave called Joseph Jefferson. And he belonged to the McKnight family. And it dawned on me that Professor Berger was right. So then I went to the head librarian and I said, let's really do a thorough search of this. And seemingly an hour later, he brought this document to me. And the document is a rare survey of slaves in the 1850 and 1860 in the St. Louis County. And I was able, because I knew all this, the people that lived in Ladue, to trace the slaves to the person who owned them, like the McKnight family, the Denny family. This was a farm community. Ladue was a farm community, so many, many people had slaves. And I think that it was so important for me to find the document, which was there, but nobody even knew about it. And I'm so happy that it's finally out to the community, that there were about 50 slaves that lived there. And what is fascinating about it is that the slaves actually built Ladue. I mean, they were tending the farms, taking care of the children. They were building the homes in Ladue. So we owe them a tremendous amount of credit. And unfortunately, even in this document, there are no first names of the slaves. There's not, let alone a last name. They only listed them by male, female, and how old they were. And they were as young as 10 and 8 years old. So I wanted you all to know that, and I am, it always gives me a sadness to know that this happened and nothing had ever been told about it. Now let's go into something more. The trains were essential for Ladue, and this is the Creve Coeur branch that came into Ladue and really essentially brought other people to the area. And this was a fair. This is an exhibition that happened in Ladue. And it really turned Ladue around because after the fair, more and more people came there, and it became quite the place to be. So this is the 04 trolley, another reason why Ladue had so many people there, because people were now able to come back and forth to the city, and otherwise they wouldn't be able to get there. And the reason why I'm showing these golfers in the 1800s, so you could see their ancient attire, is because when golf became really popular in the 1820s, city people wanted to play golf, and there was no place to go because the city didn't have room for a golf course. So they headed west, and where did they go? They went to Ladue. They found land. The Archbishop had some property there. And strangely, it went from a church area to a golf course, if you can believe it. And so these are some of the golfers that first played at St. Louis Country Club. And then they had a polo fields there, and this is where that was. And then because of the golf courses and the country clubs that were being built, St. Louis Country Club, the Log Cabin Club, and the Bogey Club, the affluent people moving out there wanted private schools. So then they started Mary Institute, John Burroughs, and soon there were so many people there that they decided to take 3 little villages, the village of McKnight, the village of Ladue, and the village of Deer Creek, and merged them in 1936 into a city. And that's why it's called the city of Ladue. And I just wanted to show you one last thing here, and this is a picture of Ladue Market. I don't know if you've been in Ladue Market. Now it's still kind of a country store, but this is when it first opened. And because of all the businesses that came to Ladue, it functions as its own little community. And you really don't have to go outside Ladue. They have everything you could want there. And these are gasoline stations open. And so I hope that you've enjoyed your little tour of Ladue. I have a very truncated version of it today. And if you have any questions, maybe later on you can ask me. But thank you so much for being here.
We'll just put you right here, okay? And then
Okay,
I'll be
perfect.
acknowledging you here in a second.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. I will ask the presenters and the honorees to come forward now and take their places. And Charlotte Bree, we appreciate very much. And we'll definitely get a book for the library. Are you here, Nitsa? Oh, good. Oh, sure, you bet. If you want to get me her award. I will be making the first award myself, and that will be to Charlene Bree. Charlene, if you'll come up and stand to my right. This plaque says, St. Louis Book Award presented to Charlene Bree for contributions to St. Louis history and literature, entitled Ladue Found. This is presented by the Historical Society of St. Louis County on October 25th, 2012. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Okay. What an honor.
Our next award is the James O. Flynn Award for Community Service. This award is named for the former president of the Automobile Association of Missouri and president of the Regional Commerce and Growth Association. This year's awardee is Ms. Amy Kaiser, who's brought an entourage along with her, I think. She is the director of St. Louis Symphony Choir and has prepared the choir for performances with music directors David Robertson, Hans Bonk, and Leonard Slatkin. She has been guest conductor at the Chicago Grant Park Festival, the Berkshire Choral Festival, and has conducted more than 50 performances with the Metropolitan Opera Guild. Ms. Kaiser is a graduate of Smith College and the recipient of the Smith College Medal for Professional Achievement. She was a Fulbright Fellow at Oxford University and holds a master's degree in music from Columbia University. Over the years, Ms. Kaiser has guided the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra Choir to become one of the finest choral groups in the country. She has become known as a teacher and lecturer with Opera Theater of St. Louis. Through her tireless efforts, she has helped make St. Louis one of the premier musical and cultural centers of the United States. Presenting the James O. Flynn Award is Judge Arthur Litz, chairman of the board and co-founder of the Historical Society of St. Louis County. Judge Litz.
Thank you. Amy, would you come up here, please? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to one of the treasures of St. Louis. I know that the university here has a great music school, and the tie-in with Ms. Kaiser, who's head of the chorus of the St. Louis Symphony, is, I think, very propitious that we have it at this time. And those of you who are musically inclined, or even those that are not, I urge you to go to the St. Louis Symphony when you can, especially when the chorus is being presented and you'll see the work of this fine lady. And Amy, it is a pleasure on behalf of the Society to present you the James M. O. Flynn Community Service Award for significant efforts to promote music and arts in the St. Louis metropolitan area. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good morning, and I want to thank the St. Louis County Historical Society for honoring me this morning. Live music making is truly one of the great things that we can experience. It's my great privilege and pleasure to work with the wonderful singers in the St. Louis Symphony Chorus. This is my community. Also, the entire St. Louis Symphony organization, the musicians, the staff, who are so devoted to bringing the very, very best quality of music making and the variety of it to our community. Opera Theater of St. Louis also is one of the greatest live music making organizations in the country, and we have these things right here at our doorstep. So I do urge you to come and be part of our audience community of listeners. You could start with hearing the Symphony Chorus do the Mozart Requiem on November 9th, 10th, and 11th. They sound especially gorgeous this year. Or you could start this weekend with the classic film of The Wizard of Oz, accompanied by live orchestra. In any case, it's an amazing experience. Opera Theater here and live at Powell Hall and the St. Louis Symphony and Chorus are wonderful treasures. So I hope you will be part of that community, and I thank you all for honoring me this morning.
Thank you, Amy Kaiser. The next presentation is that of the Henry Sutton Governmental Affairs Award. This year's recipient is the former Lieutenant Governor of the state of Missouri, the Honorable Kenneth J. Rothman. Mr. Rothman has dedicated more than 40 years of his life to public service. Once an assistant prosecuting attorney for St. Louis County, he has since held a variety of elected positions, including Missouri House of Representatives, Majority Leader and Speaker of the House, as well as Lieutenant Governor. He has served as a municipal judge in the city of St. Anne and Richmond Heights. He serves on the board of directors of the Metropolitan Zoological Park and Museum District. He graduated from Washington University in St. Louis with both his bachelor's and law degrees. He is one of the foremost authorities on the practice of administrative law and governmental relations. Presenting the Henry Sutton Award is Thomas E. Bauer, a former member of the Missouri House of Representatives and alderman in the city of St. Louis. He is a member of the board of directors of the Historical Society of St. Louis County. Mr. Bauer.
Where do you want me, Tom? Anywhere you want to be, Mr. Rothman. When the speaker says, "Where do you want me?" you say, "Anywhere you want to be." I think that was probably the biggest thing in Mr. Rothman's career. Is the speaker is like the #2 guy in terms of governmental authority in this state. So it's a great honor to present this to you, Mr. Rothman, on behalf of the Historical Society.
Thank you. Thank you. So I get to say something?
Yeah, say whatever you like.
I had him a little nervous this morning when I told him that I stayed up late last night to prepare an hour presentation. Bernie turned white, but I said, no, I wouldn't do that. Thanks for your kind comments, Judge Litz, outstanding jurist who I had the privilege to serve with and be in front of. This is a great honor. I noticed in the paper the other day, when this is a history place, is that they were talking of Rivas at a newspaper, and they were talking after the Civil War to move the United States Capitol from Washington, D.C. to St. Louis. Always being a progressive community, of course, it didn't happen, and the city broke away from the county, which was very tragic. I grew up in the Wellston area. I was kind of unique. I was the first person that got sent to Jefferson City by the elective process instead of the court system. But it was really a very rewarding experience, and the things that we were able to accomplish for both the county and the state, child abuse prevention, with other items. I'm very proud, and I'm very proud to receive this award, and you'll be happy to know that concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rothman. Congratulations. Our next award is the Robert F. Hyland Distinguished Service Award. I would like to call upon Judge Litz to make this presentation for obvious reasons.
Thank you, Doctor. Ladies and gentlemen, this Robert F. Hyland Distinguished Service Award is being given to the Missouri Baptist University this year, and I'm very proud to give the award to Mr. Keith Ross. You come up here, please, representing the university. As you may know, Dr. Lacey and his wife couldn't be with us today because of the death of the doctor's father. This award was founded by Robert F. Hyland, who you may or may not know was the head of KMOX radio for many, many years and a giant in the entertainment industry in St. Louis. And this award was named after him. And it's particularly an honor for me to present this to the university through you, Ross. The university has held 16 of these award presentations. We were actually started in about 31 years ago. And the university has hosted 6 symposiums here at the university. Various faculty members have participated in programs here and other institutions of higher learning. And a special thanks to the faculty members, especially Dr. Keith Butler and Dr. Joanne Mueller. And we have a special thanks to Dr. Dykstra, who, without his help, we wouldn't have advanced to where we are today. And it is especially a privilege for me on behalf of the Society present the Robert F. Hyland Distinguished Service Award to Missouri Baptist University for extraordinary efforts in promoting St. Louis local history and supporting the Historical Society of St. Louis County.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And it is a pleasure on behalf of Missouri Baptist University to accept this award. We've always considered it a privilege to host this prestigious award ceremony. And we've had a long heritage of doing that, and we want to continue that in the future. It's been wonderful to be a part of this organization and the esteemed individuals that are represented here today and throughout the broader community. So again, we're delighted to be a part of it. This is a wonderful time for us, and so again, thank you very much.
Our last award this morning is the William Barnaby Faraday Award. Father Faraday was a professor of history at St. Louis University. He wrote over 35 books. His first historical novel was adopted by MGM into a movie entitled The Guns of San Sebastian, starring Anthony Quinn and Charles Bronson. You would only know those two names if you were watching really, really old reruns. This year's awardee is Dr. Daniel Bernstein. Dr. Bernstein is a professor of history and religious studies at Washington University in St. Louis. His research focuses on the religious culture of medieval and Renaissance Italy, with a special interest in popular devotion and the role of religion in daily life. Presenting the award is Mr. John Wade, St. Louis University archivist. John.
Thank you, Dr. Dykstra, Dr. Bornstein. Father Faraday was my longtime friend and historical colleague. Although both of us were Americanists, we have no problem giving this to a medievalist. It's okay, you're still a historian. It's my honor on behalf of the Historical Society of St. Louis County to present the William Barnaby Faraday Award to Dr. Daniel Bornstein for contributions to religious and cultural history. Congratulations.
It's a tremendous honor and pleasure and quite a surprise to receive this award from the Historical Society of St. Louis County. It's also I'm very impressed to see how many students turned out to hear this ceremony on a lovely day when there are all sorts of temptations to be outside enjoying the last bit of summer. My understanding is that Father Faraday was a bit of a character, and when I learned that his first historical novel was made into a movie starring Anthony Quinn, I thought I would try to play the Kevin Bacon game and see how many Hollywood connections it would take to get to me. So what I discovered is that The Guns of San Sebastian, written by Father Faraday, was made into a film with Anthony Quinn, who co-starred in Salamander with Eli Wallach, who acted in The Misfits with Marilyn Monroe, whose marriage to Arthur Miller was celebrated by Rabbi Bob Goldberg, who bar mitzvahed me. Charlene Brie opened by paying tribute in some ways to her professor, my colleague, Henry Berger of Washington University. I'd like to close these remarks by paying tribute to not professors, but students. The historical profession, like any scholarly profession, is a matter of transmitting from generation to generation certain skills, certain secrets of the trade. And I think some of my graduate students are here. Not all of them could be. James Palmer, who is working on a dissertation on civic religion and civic life in 14th century Rome, had to teach, and his students couldn't convince him to cancel class. Bianca Lopez, would you please stand? Bianca is about to begin working on a dissertation on pilgrimage to the Shrine of the Holy House of Loreto, and the notion of pilgrimage as creating a sense of regional identity rather than local identity in a country, Italy, known for its localism. Amanda Scott. Amanda is about to begin work on a dissertation dealing with a particular sort of lay religious woman, the Sororas of northeastern Spain, the Basque country. Women who held a position of religious esteem in their local communities, looking after the local church. We have also Kimberly Sams. Is Kimberly here? Kimberly, interested in Jewish-Christian relations in the Mediterranean world. And Luca Roberto Foti. Luca remarkably comes here, comes to St. Louis from Sicily by way of Florence and Leiden to study Italian history in St. Louis. It's a remarkably diverse group of students. It's a wonderful group of very bright, talented young people. It's a reminder of the wonderful richness of America, made up of all sorts of different people, as Charlene Brie pointed out to us, and that it continues to be a nation made of immigrants. Thank you.
I would expect the students who showed up from Washington to get some special consideration on one of those chapters that you're working on for showing up today. Well, congratulations to all of our honorees. We are really honored by having a chance to celebrate your life. And we always wish we had more time for this than what we really do, but our students enjoy this. You have been incredibly attentive. I appreciate it. We are going to close in prayer, and you're going to remain seated, and as soon as I finish praying, you will be dismissed, and I will be giving a short prayer. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this good day. We thank you for all blessings that come from your hand. You are the creator and sustainer of the universe and our lives. We are so grateful for this university, for the Historical Society, and for these individuals that are being rightly honored today. And so we pray that you would accept this entire convocation as an act of worship. And it's in your great and mighty name we pray. Amen. You're dismissed.